guys, it's SJ. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, or if you're new, I'm SJ, a mum of 3. My eldest son is in year 3 at school, so I've been a school mum for 4 years now, and my second son Finn is starting this September. He is at preschool, and we also just recently moved schools as well within, relocated to a new area, so I've had to kind of go through the starting school thing all over again from scratch. So I wanted to share with you some top tips of how to have a really good and positive drop-off in the morning that I've learned basically over the years that make that drop-off moment so much better for them, so much easier for us as well. This video is in collaboration with a vlogger friend of mine, Jules. I've known Jules for years. She was one of the first ever vloggers I watched, and her son Josh is starting school this year in September as well. Over on her channel, we have done a kind of Q&A together about other questions that you may have around starting school, issues and concerns, about mums in the playground, about preparing them for school and what you need to do over the summer. So that is live over on Jules' channel now. So first off, it's really just about preparing them for the day ahead, particularly the lunchtime thing. I know that's such a big deal for children, and that might be something that they're worried about. So every morning over breakfast, just sit and talk through exactly what's going to happen that day from the beginning to the end. So I'm always like, we're going to put our shoes on, we're going to walk to school or get in the car. These are your lunch options, because the school always send out the menu options. Talk through each one, answer their questions, help them decide before they go to school what they're going to have. And basically just make them as prepared as possible for the day ahead, so that when they get there they feel really much more in control and it's much easier for them to go in. At that moment of leaving the house, I always find that's when my child is really happy all morning, he's all prepared, then it's shoes are on, and then it's let's go, and the fears and anxieties start coming out, and I don't want to go, I'm not going, I want to stay here, I want to stay with mummy. All that comes out, which is natural and understandable. So one trick I always do is just to distract him from that. It's, how are we going to get to school today? Don't say we're going to have to skip all the way. I'm never going to hop all the way. Wiggling my bottom the whole way has been done. Let me tell you. And it really makes him crack up, and because he's just focused on that little how to get to school, it just relieves that tense moment, gets him out the door with a smile on his face, and when he gets there he's had a bit of a giggle along the way, so he goes in much happier. Over the summer, one thing you can do is just practice the walk to school or the drive to school, and talk to them about how they're going to get there. Would they like to use their scooter to get to school? Lots of kids do that, or their bike, or how would they like to get there? And then once that's practiced, it also helps you as well, because I find in the mornings I used to be very stressed. We've got to cross a couple of roads, we're by a busy road, and the means to walk to school can sometimes be me going like, stop, go, no, walk this side, do this, and that's not a very relaxing thing for the kids. So practicing that in advance is a really nice thing to do as well, and talking about school. It gives you that nice quiet one-to-one time to also just chat about school, listen to them, what they're thinking about school, and reassure them about any worries that they've got before. And then once school starts, my biggest tip is to use that time of going to school to build their confidence, to push all that confidence into them. I make the big mistake of sometimes on the walk to school going through all the things that went wrong that morning, and then you didn't eat your breakfast, and that's why we're late now, and that's why we're rushing, and da-da-da-da-da. Because often I'm stressed, I will tell you, with 3 kids getting out on time doesn't happen very often. And I realised, gosh, then I'm just saying goodbye and it's not extra nice. So using that time to think, okay, telling them, I think a good trick, telling them what they've done the night before or what they have done over the weekend if it's a Monday and that drop-off is getting a little bit harder, gives them the conversation tools when they get to school. And often the teacher will say, what did everyone do this weekend? And if your child's a little less confident like mine is, he'll probably be like, nothing. Whereas if on the way to school it's like, remember we had that really nice weekend and we saw Nanny and Gaga and you got a pizza on Saturday night and we went to the playground. Doesn't have to be these amazing things, but then when they get to school they do have that little conversation piece to go up to somebody else and say, guess what, I saw my Nanny and Gaga this weekend. And it really does help them to feel loved and special and cherished, and remember all the nice things. You know, last night we read the Gruffalo and wasn't it funny? And then they might go to school and continue that conversation with their peer group. It's a really good tip that works. And also don't fall into the trap of telling them what you will be doing while they're at school. For them, while they're at school, you may as well just be sat just outside in your car, because you just pop up again at the end and they've got no concept of time. So I always said if he did ask, it was like, oh, I'm going to have to tidy the kitchen, or I'm going to go to the supermarket, or I'm just going to go and pop and make a cup of tea, because they literally have no concept of time when they're that tiny. And it was something boring that I was doing that meant I'd be popping right back and I didn't want to do it anyway. What I tried not to do is ever talk in front of them in the morning with the younger siblings. Sometimes I would say, Finn, guess what, we're going to the playground, and then Freddie would be like, no, I'm going to school. So just be aware of making sure that the time apart from them, they know that basically the whole world has stopped until they're out. I read an amazing psychological article recently about children and about how much tactile and hugging and touching them is so important, especially before a separation. So I've put this into practice in my house, and it's making such a big positive difference to me and to them. As soon as we get up in the morning, obviously you do normally give a cuddle, but extra, be over the top before school, ruffling their hair, patting their back, holding their hand all the way to school. All of that extra touch and extra sense of comfort that you're giving them lasts them throughout the day. And it said something in there like, we need 4 hugs a day to be okay, 8 hugs a day to feel better, and 12 hugs a day to feel confidence, or something like this. So I'll link the article below, it's amazing. But yeah, lots and lots of extra hug and affection and touch, as much as you can, all the little things. Even when they're eating breakfast, I'll sometimes just rub their back now, just making sure that they've had that big fill up of you before school. Really helps before any big change or any separation. Like, you know what it's like. If I was going for my first day at a new job and my husband gave me a big hug before I left, that would give me some sort of strength going into the new room. And another great tip is to think about what time you're going to arrive to make your drop off as easy as possible. I find that I arrive quite late deliberately because it means there's no time for us to have a long goodbye or a worry about it. It's just big hug, bye, the bell's going, in you go. And that timing works much better for me, because if I'm there hanging around, it's that time I get anxious if he's clinging to me and holding my hand. I'm looking at the friendship group saying, why is that kid playing with that kid? I want to come and play with Freddie. And I get built up and worried, and so does he. Similarly, if you do want to, you could try to get there early, so that if they do have that type of school setup where there's 10 minutes of mingle and play time and your child enjoys that, that's also really, really good, because if they played with somebody in that 5 minutes before the bell goes, likelihood is they're going to seek them out again inside the classroom and sit next to them, and it gives them that little buddy for the day. So just decide what works best for your child, but it's very hard to arrive just a couple of minutes before, when there's some children are crying, especially on the first day. There'll be people taking photos, there'll be kids who are clinging to their parents, and that whole environment is very stressful. So I think on the first day, getting there early, enough time to kind of do a long good goodbye, or getting there right at the drop off so they go straight in, just judge it, but really be deliberate in how you think about the time that you're going to arrive. So those are my top 5 tips to how to have a good school drop off. I hope you found them useful. There are tons of more thoughts and ideas over on Jules' channel within our Q&A. I hope you find this interesting. I'm going to do a few more starting school videos coming up, so do remember to hit subscribe to follow along, and I will see you all very soon. Bye guys.